Put on a Ike mini flip.
It's a little out of that. Good one on a frog.
Oh my gosh, how big his mouth is. To be a 4-pounder, if that thing had a gut, that's like a 5 or 6.
What's going on, everybody? Josh Carter here, One Objective Bass Fishing. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is a different show. You can tell that the studio looks a little different right now. So I'm actually in my camper. So I got a camper that I stay in when I come down to James and M's to when we're making products and all that stuff. And I normally come down. I come down almost every week, and to make help make product, build product, ship product for all our great customers that bought kayak accessories and bass boat accessories from us on oneobjectivebf.com. So I finally wanted to do it in here. So I'm sorry also if my voice is a little off, or if I have some coughing moments here. This is why I have avoided doing a podcast for the last, I'm gonna say several weeks, probably a month now. We've been going through some crazy times with sickness and all that. And I've actually had a cold for, I'm gonna feel like it's like 3 weeks now. I started getting sick, thought I was getting better, had an irritating cough, and then it hit me really hard, like a sinus infection. And then, and now I'm just kind of still on the effects of getting over this cold right now, which has been going around. It wasn't COVID, nothing like that. But it's been a bad time. And then James has had some medical issues go on as well, and helping just fill in down here a little bit more than I usually do, so we can get him up and going, and hopefully he'll get better soon, get back to 100% operation here soon. But I do appreciate everybody that's tuning in. I appreciate all you guys that have stuck it out with us. My goal is to really get this show back going, and being out of town so much, I felt like I was just really struggling. I didn't get back into town till late, and then I was wanting to spend time with my family, and also even trying to get up there and go film and do some YouTube stuff for our outdoor channel, One Objective Outdoors. So it's been tough trying to balance life and get all this right on top of being sick. So and hunting season's here, so we've been doing a lot of that as well. And like I say, getting in the woods 3 o'clock and getting out of dark, and then if you kill something, it's which we've done. We've had a really great year with getting some meat in the freezer. So so it's been a little tough. No excuses really. Just like I say, just been sick and all that. So I figured what I'm going to try to do is start trying to do these out of my camper sometimes. I'm using the DJI mic system, the new mic system they got out. I could plug it right into my computer, and I got it right here, and I can just kind of did some testing stuff. I thought the sound was pretty good. So you guys that are listening, if it sounds off or anything like that, please, email us or comment, message us on Facebook or Instagram. Sorry about that. But just let us know that how the sound was on it. But I think it's going to be okay. I think this DJI system's really great. And like, to be out of town, this gives me the opportunity to be out of town now and also shoot some podcasts. And me and my wife have been talking about this for the last several months, like I say, getting over colds and just the workflow of things and all that. We've talked about doing possibly a podcast that's going to be a little different than just all outdoor stuff. It's going to be just like normal adult conversations, family stuff and all that. So looking forward to maybe possibly getting that going. We're still working out some kinks and some, figuring out what we want to title it and which direction we fully want to go, kind of thinking, guest ideas and all that stuff. It's been tough trying to really figure that one out because it's outside my realm. I normally don't, and it's not going to be a politics show. I normally don't talk politics. I normally try not to get involved with other events going on out there, or just, anything that could be controversial, I normally try to stay away from a little bit. I don't like to be controversial with a lot of stuff. Now, in the fishing stuff where I got passion, I'm very passionate about that kind of stuff. Yes, it kind of I like to dig into a little bit. So, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to turn out. So we're working on that. But first off, I want to thank a lot of our sponsors that has helped us out this year. Been some great companies that's worked with us. I need to add it to the banner here because the last podcast show I was talking about is going to be a surprise, and I did a little bit of like pictures and all that stuff on Instagram, Facebook. Welcome aboard. But I want to thank Rocky Boot Company for coming on board with us. We're really excited about working with them, especially being hunting. They got a lot of apparel in there now that they're trying to gear towards like the fishing and just outdoor recreational in general. So make sure you go check out Rocky Boots and see all that they have to offer. They got some really great boots. I've wore Rocky boots basically all my life when it comes to hunting and stuff like that. I've wore other boots for work, but when it comes to hunting, outdoor stuff, basically all the boots that I've really worn has been Rocky. That's why when they reached out, I was like, holy crap, this is unbelievable, because I normally try to work with companies that you really believe in, and to really believe in a company, you got to use that product for a while. You really got to test it out and know the product. And I feel like Rocky Boots is definitely one of those companies that's that I really know. I've used their corn stalkers for a long while, and that's basically the only boot I've ever really worn from Rockies when it came with the Gore-Tex and all that. So, like I say, it's just nice to have my buddy Chris. We always wore them. That's what we was out in the woods. We was wearing Rockies, we're walking around the woods and stuff like that. So I want to thank them for coming on board with us. I want to thank Waterland Sunglasses. Make sure you go check them out. I don't have none on my head right now, but like I said, they got several pairs, different frames to fit different faces, big heads, small heads, medium-sized heads. Of course, you see mine's the big head. So, but they got all kinds of different lenses and colors and all that stuff to match whatever you need for the conditions that you have at the moment. I also want to thank Missile Baits for coming on, staying on board with us since basically day one. John Cruz and Byron and all them guys, Alex, I really appreciate you guys. Y'all mean a lot to us, and I love throwing their jigs. I love throwing their baby destroyers. It's just been a big deal. As you've seen a couple of videos, I've been throwing the missile jigs a lot, and some of those catching some key fish. So been a big help, getting some of those fish. Also, I want to thank Amped Outdoors. Everything we got is powered by Amped Outdoors, basically. Our boat, from kayaks, boats, the little blackout kit that I have for, power goes out, stuff like that. Amped Outdoors has been a great company to work with. We've rigged a lot of kayaks without Amped Outdoors. And we sell a lot for them too as well. So make sure you go check out our website is for oneobjectivebf.com for all the products that, Missile Baits, Amped Outdoors, and other products from, kayak and kayak rigging, bass boat rigging, all that stuff. We got you covered on there. So make sure you go check out them sponsors. It helps support us. Let's support them. And so they can continue to keep helping us out with the show and our YouTube channel and all that stuff. So we're very appreciative of them. But also, I just want to thank all you guys that have joined us, that has been with us, and that are subscribing to our YouTube channels and all that. It's been super, super fun adventure. Never thought in a million years that we would be where we're at right now. It's been a roller coaster ride. And, I remember I actually got a poem that's hanging in my mom's office right now that I wrote years ago when I was in elementary school. And it was a poem about wanting to be a professional fisherman. And at the time when I was a kid, like being a professional fisherman was like, that's all I wanted. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about anything else. I actually didn't even like hunting that much. I did it, but it wasn't my thing. It wasn't my big thing. So, but to be able to do what we do now, I've prayed and prayed and prayed for many years to be in the fishing industry. And one time I wanted to be a pro. Like that was my goal. But then I also started learning as I'm getting older, and money and relationships and other hobbies as well. I was big into cars and motorcycles and riding four-wheelers, all that stuff. So, some of that stuff sucking the money out of my funds, but also understanding the sacrifice it takes to be able to commit to that, and actually having a family that's willing to allow you to sacrifice them, basically, because you kind of got to be very selfish. It's all about yourself, really, at that point. You're there fishing for them too. You're trying to make a living and to support them and all that, but you're gone a lot. So there's a lot of memories that are missed, unless you're fortunate enough, like guys like Brandon Pollock, Gerald Swindle, all these guys that are they can travel with their families. But some of these guys like Gerald Swindle didn't have that opportunity for many years until he started making it big. It was a lot of family time that was missed, and traveling the last 2 years ago when me and James traveled and did a lot of the kayak stuff, and you see a lot of these guys that are successful, man, they're gone all the time, and that's what it takes, though. It takes that kind of dedication. You got to be 100% all in or nothing else, because if you are not all in, then you might have some lucky times and do well, but it's tough. It really is tough to be. So for us to be where we're at after kind of evaluating things as I was getting older, I started realizing that maybe I don't want to be a professional fisherman. Maybe I just want to be in the fishing industry, in the outdoor industry. And that's where we are now. There's lots of prayers, lots of research, lots of headache and homework and sacrifice as well. We've sacrificed a lot to be where we're at right now. My family, James's family, has sacrificed a lot right now. We come from some great opportunities where we were working at, to drop it all to do this now, which has been a great opportunity. So anyways, very blessed to be where we're at right now. And I'm very thankful of all our customers, all our subscribers, all our followers, all that. So, but like I said, we've been rambling on for several minutes here. I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about what this show is going to be about tonight. And I've been really trying to I've actually been in a brain fog trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a show. And I guess we're right here at the fall winter transition, right? Especially in Virginia, where I don't know where you're at in the state, but here in Virginia right now, it went from being during bow season and muzzleloader and some of rifle season, you're sweating getting into the tree stand, and then you're just putting on a light coat in the afternoon. And then if you do kill something, you're rushing to get it in the cooler. We went from that to I don't even know if I really want to go outside much right now, because it's like 42 degrees as the highs, with it dropping down to 17 degrees. So we actually drove by James's pond that he's been building. If y'all haven't seen any of that, go to our One Objective Outdoors channel and go check out James's pond video where he started that. And we drove by that day, and it was frozen this morning, which was 17 degrees. And we drove by this afternoon about 3 o'clock, and the highs were like 42, and it's still frozen. So it's cold right now. It's really cold. So sorry about that. But it's tough to get out there in it right now. And that's the kind of the weather we've had. So we've went from fall now to straight head on into winter. It's cold, really cold right now. Perfect hunting weather. It really is. But I'm a big baby. I don't like cold that much. I like cool. I don't like freezing cold. So trying to get this show together, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Me and James have been on this whole uphill climb of growing a whole nother YouTube channel, the One Objective Outdoors. And we do get a lot of questions about cameras. We get a lot of questions about how to start a YouTube channel. We get a lot of questions about the process of doing YouTube or vlogging or any of this other stuff. So I wanted to cover a little bit of that. And if people like it, maybe I'll do another segment of, going fully in depth with some of the gear. Might be doing a video here soon with some of the gear. So just trying to figure all that out. But let's kind of cover some of the fall transition into winter first. And then if you guys want to hang out and you want to talk about the whole YouTube thing and all that, we'll kind of dig into that. And maybe one day we'll do just a sit down live, and we can talk with you guys about it. So But let's kind of get into that fall/winter transition. This is a fun time. It really is, because you're getting water temps in the mid to low 50s, depending on where you're at. Like right now, we're in the mid to low 50s right now, Smithmount Lake and all that. So you got a plethora of things that you can be doing, and they're all fun to do. You know what I mean? For the most part, whether it's, throwing an A-rig right now. I mean, they are crushing. They can be crushing an A-rig, or you can just throw a regular old swim bait, and then you go to a jig, flipping jig around, lay down, especially when the sun's up good and it's warming up. They get up there around the trees. You flip a jig around that, or docks. You got cranking weather. They're still up shallow, and there's always going to be fish shallow. It might not be the big schools like you would normally see, like if you go offshore and you find some schools out there off the points and flat points, stuff like that. But you're still going to have some of those fish that are a good portion of fish that are still shallow. You can go up there and you can throw crankbaits. And sometimes as the day warms up, they'll pull tighter up to the riprap and stuff. So you can throw things like Shad Rap, real tight wiggling crankbaits, Shad Raps, the 6 cents baits. Strike King's got some flat sides. There's several custom balsa brands that are out there that are great flat-sided crankbaits for wintertime. And most of the time, my colors this time of year, which, we all know crankbaits are it's imitating a shad, or if you can get one deep enough where you're hitting the bottom, imitating like a crawfish, kind of fluttering up the bottom. But my main two colors this time of year is like the natural shad color in Rapala, like the Shad Raps, or it's like a crawl color, like if you got into like a wiggle wart or something like that, that's got a little bit bigger wobble, but you're digging the bottom up. You can go and throw it in that shallow stuff, especially around some of that mud and all that. You can throw that around and catch some really nice fish doing that this time of the year. But I'm gonna say probably one of my favorites is the A-rig. It's just I like going out there, finding them off the points and trying to catch some of them, finding them in the backs of the creek, still in the creek channel. You can go out there, you'll see shad everywhere, and you get back there and you can throw the A-rig and really catch some good fish, if not catch good numbers of them, So I think it's easier to target them a little bit more now, until you have like some of these really dramatic cold fronts. It can be tough, but most of the time, I think, I'm going to start in the backs of the creeks. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go back here and see what shad are flicking around. If they're back here flicking around, I'm going to start throwing A-rig, or you can also, another bait that's really good this time of the year, I have some success on it, I'm hit and miss with it, is an underspin. That's a good bait. My buddy Jason Hensley, he's the one that really got me into throwing an underspin, and I've seen the success he's had with it, and it's something that I have really started wanting to throw more. And it's just, it's an all-time good winter bait, from now all the way. I mean, some people throw it all year long. I don't, but when it gets cold, it's a good bait to throw. So, but like I say, you can have a plethora of baits out. And then we all know the all shaky head, the drop shot, and the wacky rig. They're hard to beat too, especially if you get good sunny days and you're skipping up under docks and stuff like that. They're just great baits to have. Rock bluffs, all that, So, but starting out, like I say, I'm gonna start in the very backs of the creeks, and then I'm gonna work my way out. And then depending on, some days if I start seeing more fish about mid creek, if I'm idling in, I start seeing mid creek, I might start right there. It all revolves around where I'm seeing the bait fish first. If I'm idling in and I do see them on the points out there, I might stop out there first. But most of the time where I'm heading is to the back of that creek. But I'm going to start scanning at the mouth of that creek all the way to the back. And I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking out in 50 foot of water. I'm going to be trying to look all the way up to about 5 foot of water. Once you get much out of that, the settings I run, it's really hard to see much on side scan up there in that, 3 foot, 2 foot range. You know what I mean? You can, but it's just harder. I'm normally staying out in that 50 to 5 foot range there, just scanning. And I'm set up for about 80 to 100 feet each side. Seems like it has a pretty good clear picture. And then if I really start honing in, I'll pull it in a little tighter and start looking in them areas a little bit. And then, but I'm also too, when I'm going through, I'm trying to find those, if I'm looking on the main points, secondary points, I'm trying to mark those rock piles, those deep ledge, especially if you get a good flat point. that goes way out, but then it's got a good drop on one side. That's stuff you want because they can pull off. They can get down in that drop, and when it's time to when the sun's coming up, they want to pull up on those flats. They can get in the mud and look around for crawfish or minnows up there trying to warm. You know, I mean that's just good spots to look. And then the same thing with the secondaries. And then you get in the backs of the creeks. A lot of times, if you can find a really good creek channel, say you got, let's say like something like you got a lot of deep creeks, you can get in the very back and be in 10 foot of water. But if you can pull out a little bit, you can start finding those creek channels where they're bending and pushing up against the bank and stuff like that, and getting down into like 15 foot of water, or heck, if it goes from 10 to 12, you know, right in there, it's just a good little drop somewhere, a little ditch for them to get into. That's a perfect scenario to start looking, start flipping things. And you got live scope, it makes it 10 times easier to find some of that. You just got to be careful with live scope because you can get really hooked on that time of year, and you kind of get away from flipping the shallow stuff a little bit more and all that. So I'm trying to use my time wisely now with live scope and just getting up there flipping around. When we had the Fall Classic not too long ago, I told myself during practice, I'm going to try to leave the live scope alone. I'm only going to dedicate a few minutes to certain things. So if I'm out there and I see a school of fish, I'll mess with them for a little bit. I'm not going to sit there long. If I see a rock point and I come out, I see a bunch of rock, or I see a standing tree or something like that, I'm going to go when I'm on a side scan. I'm going to go put the live scope on real quick, see what's in it, if there's anything in it, cast a couple times, nothing, then I'm going to head on to the next spot. So, but you got to be careful with live scope because it can rarely. I noticed what made me get into that. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. What I noticed with that was, in the last several years, my fishing is really starting to fall off. I was actually talking to James about this with catching bigger fish, catching 3s and 4s. My fishing's falling off, and I think a lot of it is I have spent so much time trying to just learn live scope and really put the time in on finding brush piles and just playing with the live scope that I've kind of gotten away from the techniques that I really like to throw. Carolina rigs. I like taking drop shots, putting one docks, which you can still use live scope with that, kind of pinpointing where they're at on which pole. But like, just going out there cranking, flipping jigs, throwing shaky heads under docks. I mean, the stuff that I used to catch good quality fish off of, I seem like I've gotten away from because I'm out there now trying to find them in the fish that ain't nobody finding, which now everybody is, in that deeper water column. So for me, I'm trying to go back to my old ways of fishing and trying to get away from the live scoping as much. I'm still going to use it. It's still a tool. I'm still going to dedicate some time to it, especially during practice for tournaments and stuff. But I really want to learn how to pinpoint and get back to flipping laydowns and just old timey fishing. You know what I mean? Old style fishing, and getting back in and trying to dial that back in, but then using live scope as well on that stuff. So. But you really got to dedicate your time to it. I mean, I'm gonna say dedicate. You got to allocate your time to it, and only use it for so long. And then, all right, this ain't working. I got to get away from it because it's like bed fishing. You pull up and you see a 6-pounder on the bed, and you spend an hour on that thing before you know it. Time flies when they're on beds. It's crazy how time flies. You look down, and you're like, holy crap! I've been on this thing for an hour, and she ain't even paid no mind. Or you're like, oh, she might be getting ready. I don't know. But same thing with live scoping. It's sight fishing basically, and it can be very tough, and it can take up a lot of your time and not even realizing that it did. So be careful of that. But yeah, so I want to, most of the time though, when I want to go back in these creeks, another thing that y'all know that I love to throw is spinnerbait. I'm going to be throwing the Z-Man Finesse, or I'm going to be throwing the Booyah 4-blade. That's my two go-to spinnerbaits. I do have another one that I've been using. If you watched the video where I went fish the river in the Hobie, this was a custom bait. It's got it's a big size bait, but the wire's a little bit smaller, so everything's tight. So it's like more for like burning through the water. I think I picked them up when we were fishing Lake Chickamauga. Me and James went to tackle store at the lower end, and I think that's where we found them. And anyways, they had I don't even make them. They were just kind of hanging on the shelf. They're like somebody local down there makes them. So if you know who it is, you can always message me because I do like their spinnerbaits. I've caught some fish off them. They do really well. But I'm going to start with something like that too early in the morning, right up on a riprap. Between that and a shad rap, that's going to be my first 2 baits I'm probably going to pick up. But I am going to have that A-rig sitting right there. So if I pull out and I scan, as I'm going down the bank, I'll scan a little bit. And if I see something out there, some bait fish or some fish under them, I'm going to throw to them. And like I say, that's just something I try to keep there. And then I'm also going to have my jig and probably a wacky rig out right then, so I can put around some laydowns or under way up under some docks, as you'll see them way up under there sometimes. And that wacky rig with like a little flick shake head on it, when it's real good and sunny, that bait is killer. That bait has done well for me all the way up through December, January, into February, and then so on. But most time, once we start getting to spring, I'm going more weightless with it, not having a weight on it. So, but I've caught some big ones, and it's a phenomenal bait this time of the year. If things are slow, if you cannot get in that reaction bite. But I'm going to start with the reaction bite first, because I want to cover a lot of water quick. So, but I'm going to work in there. If I don't get no bites, I'm going to keep working my way out. But if you go into it, it's crazy how it works out. You go into some pockets and you won't see the first bait fish. Me and Dad did this a while back, a couple weeks ago when we went out, and I fished a pocket after pocket after pocket. And I'm like, man, Dad, I was like, it is like a ghost town around here. There's no bait fish. I don't even see nothing on live scope. Wasn't getting bites. I pull up, and all of a sudden, boom, bait fish everywhere. Now, the problem I have with it, if I got so much bait fish, it's kind of hard to catch them because they're so keyed in onto that bait. So I normally try to find somewhere you got a few pods here and there, not like, schools the size of what my camper is, you do see that, like the size of your boat. Like you go in there, like, holy crap, that's a huge school. And every once in a while you can catch something under them, or if there's just schooling up on them feeding, you might have a chance. But that's all timing thing, being right there at the right time at the right place and all that stuff. So, or right place at the right time. So that's what I'm looking for, though. But if I'm going in there and I ain't seeing no bait fish, I ain't seeing nothing flickering, or if I cast on a spinnerbait up on a bank and when I'm working through, I don't see nothing kind of flicker right away here and there, for a while, I'm kind of like, all right, we need to move. This is a confidence thing now, because if I don't see the bait fish, I don't feel like nothing's there, So now if I know that it's a really good spot, I might kind of say, all right, there's a few good trees laying down or a couple docks I really like. Let me take this jig or wacky rig and put it around there real quick, just see if I get something there. But now I'm gonna keep covering water. I'm gonna make my circle, come on out, hit the big motor, and head on out to the next pocket. So just be careful how you spend your time. Don't get wrapped up in one pocket for so long, because it can bite you in the butt quick, especially during tournament time. And even practice. You're trying to cover as much water as you can to find them. So make sure you allocate some time to just running, and finding these pockets of bait fish. I mean, I got some buddies that they'll run around and never get up from the console and find bait fish. If this creek ain't got no, mark them. And then either the next day or later that day, they'll go in and start fishing. They try to find about, 5, 10, 15 pockets that's got bait fish all of them. So, and then certain lakes, every pocket you go in will be loaded with them. It just depends on the lake. But for me, it's not lake. I have a few pockets that I'll hit, definitely, that always seem to hold them. And then you have some that are hit and miss. Like they might be in there, they might not. I don't know why it is like that. Maybe it could be something to do with how much flows coming into that creek. If we ain't had a lot of rain in a while, maybe the bait fish are not in there. I don't know. I don't understand that part of it. But like I say, I try to go around and find the pockets that have bait fish, and that's where I really put my time in on them. So, but like I say, when it comes to it, my go-to baits: shad rap, spinnerbait, jig, and a wacky rig right off the giddy, and then I'll mix it in, like I say, with the A rig. I always have that ready. Another bait to always keep ready too, just in case, is something like a fluke or a Zara spook or something like that, a walking bait. Just in case they start coming up, schooling right near you, can kind of get it out there and work that and see, especially a fluke. Fluke, man, just it's hard to beat right now when they're up there schooling. You can kind of throw that out there and work it a little bit. It just depends on how far out they are, though, because sometimes a fluke can be hard to really get it out there if you don't have it on the right setup. So Zara spook, you can cast that thing country mile. So that's a good bait too, as well, to have. Also another bait, because like I say, this is junk fishing 101 right here, guys, because it can be that kind of fishing in the fall. and into the winter. And is always have a jerk bait out too, because I've caught them like that schooling when they're up there schooling. I'll throw a jerk bait out there and I've caught them. So just be ready for all that. It's jerk bait season. Jerk bait season's here. Normally I don't, actually I think jerk bait season since live scope has been all year round now. I mean, everybody throws a jerk bait. So, I would say now it's jerk bait season, but it seems like it's that all the time. So, but this is when I really start to throw it a lot and, change my cadence up from the summertime, from jerking it fast and not as long of a pause to now I'm trying to pause a little bit more, So, but now through, normally through March for me, about mid-March, it's a good jerk bait season. So just make sure you keep that in your hand as well. It's basically a free-for-all when it comes to fall. I mean, just remember that, because you can throw all kinds of different baits and catch them this time of year. It's just really tuning in to where the big ones are holding at. You can get there and get schools of 2s, and you will catch them all day long. All the 2-pounders might just be out there swimming around chasing shad every creek you go in. And then you can go around with a jig and start flipping at the trees. And, you might not get many bites, but you might get, several 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 pounders, just flipping a jig around the docks. And if you go in a creek and you already see the guy in front of you, if you happen to get that, you pull in that situation, you see him running through and throwing crankbaits and spinnerbait stuff, go ahead and pull that wacky rig on out. Go ahead and pull that jig on out. Start flipping around behind them, see what maybe they missed, So maybe their buddy in the back of the boat's throwing the same thing, a jig and wacky rig while that guy's cranking. But that's things to kind of keep in mind. Don't get spun out when you see somebody in there. Just kind of pick up something a little bit different and try and see what you can do. Maybe pick up a couple different bites. You never know. You never know. Some days, like I say, the reaction bites just aren't getting the big ones, and then you can go down to something slower, or vice versa. I've gone up there and flipped jigs and catching 1.5 pounders, 2 pounders on a jig. You're like, that's a big fish bait, And then all of a sudden you pull out and you're like, oh man, look at that. And you throw a jerk back there and you catch 4. And then you start finding them like that. It's just weird. Fishing is so fun because it's such a big puzzle. And the puzzle changes minute by minute sometimes, hour by hour. I mean, you might be catching them good in the morning and it just shuts off, or vice versa. You ain't catching none in the morning and all of a sudden it picks up. That's just how it is. And it's always changing. And that's what makes it so fun. Where hunting, I like hunting. The weather's always changing as well. But it seems, there's days that are just, it's hard to describe why nothing moved. But it seems like, okay, it's going to be a good cold front tomorrow. Deer should move through the woods good. Then you look at fish and you're like, it's going to be a good cold front tomorrow. They're either going to be biting good in the morning or afternoon. I don't know how it's going to go. Or all day long. I don't know. Or nothing at all. That's just how fall is. And spring and fall can be really tricky, but it seems like fall, the fish are not as receptive to changes as what they would be in the spring. Like with spring, where it can shut them down quick if you got a good cold front that comes back in when it's warming up. Or in the fall, sometimes it either fires them up or they're just kind of still at their feet and they're not really making big changes. So, but that's a little bit about fall fishing. That's I'm going to work on trying, now that I know I can do this from the camper, I'm going to start working on trying to get some shows lined up now that I know I can do it either from home or here. So that was kind of my biggest thing. I didn't know when I was going to be coming down here to get guests on and try to line everything up. So now that I know I can do this, this is what's going to start happening. So, but anyways, let's kind of get into the whole YouTube, or not necessarily YouTube, just filming your fishing trips, for instance. But then we'll get into like just filming your trips into a passion of like, hey, let's share it with everybody. Let's, show everybody what I'm doing. Or if, you got that personality, talk on the camera, doing tips and all that, kind of like how Fluke Master is, Gene Jensen, or some of these other pros. Gene Jensen, for instance, he started out, he's just doing YouTube, teach people how to fish. He's done some tournament stuff here lately. He's had some successful tournament stuff here lately. But his passion is to be on YouTube and teach people how to fish. So, and that's something that me and James have loved. And that's why, earlier I was talking about praying to be in the fishing industry, and where we're at right now. I was always like, if I couldn't make it as a pro fisherman, I would love to be able to have a fishing show. Like, that's just fun. You go fishing, you film it, show everybody. But, you know, I never really thought about the tough days of it and how hard it truly is. And these guys that got these big fishing shows and all that, Bill Dance and all, they got a whole production company. He just goes fishing. They know what needs to be done. They tell him, and he just tries to take care of it and do like promotional stuff and all that. But like when you're kind of filming all your own stuff, you kind of got to balance everything out and don't make it overwhelming where you burn yourself out of it too, as well. And then it's not fun. And then now you feel like you're working a job. So that's something me and James have tried to really work on with this, is saying, hey, let's have fun with it. We still want to kind of treat it like a job with scheduling and make sure everything's done right, but let's have fun with it and just go out there and enjoy doing this. So, but the first thing when it comes to filming fishing is having the right equipment right off the get. You want to have the right setup, because it can be very frustrating when you're out on the water having to deal with camera problems. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, even if you get the right equipment, because you will have little glitches here and there of stuff. I mean, and I'll go into some of that later. But the main thing is having the right equipment. Don't go cheap. I know some people are like, I'm going to just get a little cheap Amazon action camera or whatever brands that's out there, you know, other than GoPro and DJI. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But they'll get a cheap camera, go out there and film with it, and then they'll, you know, they either fighting with the memory card, or they're fighting because the camera's not recording right, or it don't have good quality, or then you feel like you just went out there and wasted your whole day really filming wise. I mean, you had a good day fishing, but or you go out there and you have a great day fishing and your camera equipment fails you, lets you down, or the batteries are not lasting, or you don't have the right setup to keep them charged. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's a lot of, you know, crying and learning. And, and what I mean by crying is losing footage, or didn't get it, or got to hit the record button. Been there, done that. Realize it after you catch a good one, and you're like, crap. But like I say, the biggest thing is having good equipment, and I want to kind of talk about that first. So we've run GoPro for many years. Actually, the starting of our YouTube channel, One Objective Bass Fishing. We have used several different models, all the way from the 3 up. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, I was very irritated with GoPro every time I went out with them. I had one that was the GoPro 9. I didn't have no problems out of that one. Maybe once or twice I had an overheating issue, but you know, it's like 100 degrees outside and you're in the middle of the lake in a plastic boat or whatever, and you got it on constant charge. And memory cards too, if you got the wrong memory card, it'll cause it to overheat. They're not fast memory cards for the camera that you have, will cause them to overheat. So, you know, but that's a lot of stuff that's just trial and error. But anyways, we had GoPros for several years, and we finally made the switch last year to DJI, which we had to still learn a few odd and end things with different memory cards, because the memory cards that worked with the GoPros, what was the last ones we had? I think they were, actually, I want to say the 9s were the last ones that we had, which we had them for a couple years. So they've already, I think they had the 12s, and I don't even know what number they're up to now. It seems like they come out with a new GoPro every 6 months. But anyways, we just had a lot of issues. So then we got the DJIs. We did have some issues with them overheating at first, or not, I won't say overheating, cutting off. And come find out it was a memory card issue. The memory cards that we had, we needed a memory card that was faster, is what I'm trying to say. And once we figured all that out, never had another minute's problem. Now, we did have some sound issues, which that's common when you're out on the water, because you got wind, or you're a good ways from the camera, or you're facing away from the camera. Now, if you got a camera in front of you facing towards you, that's okay. But if you got a camera that's right behind you because you're trying to get all the action, and you only have a budget for one camera, you will run into sound issues, you know, because what's going to happen is you're going to be out there fishing, and you catch a fish, and you're like, especially if you get used to it and you ain't done it for a while, you catch fish and you're like, oh man, that's nice, you show it here, and then and then you're talking about your fishing, and you never turn around and you looked at the camera. Like for us, when I got my Hobie set up and I'm out there on the water, I got my Yak Tac pole that comes out, and my camera's right back here, So when I'm talking, the sound's going this way, it's not really picking it up. And if you got wind, it sucks too. So you got to really work around a lot of these issues. There's a lot of problems that you can work around. So, but the first thing is figuring out, let's just get it recording. Let's keep it recording. So having a good camera and having a great memory card. Do your research on memory cards. Spend the money. Don't cheap out. You're investing in this. Get you a good cord for charging. A longer one though. Buy you two. Keep one in the boat somewhere near you, or in the car if you have to. Whatever. Buy you two cords, and buy you either what I'd start out with, because this is what I did on the front camera on my Hobie. Is you can either have you install you like a USB plug up there if you want. If you want to be simple, where you're going to be changing different kayaks and all that, we got a battery pack that is solar panel, so you can charge it while it's out in the sun. If you charge it good the night before, normally it'll last all day charging. Like, we never really had no big issues with it. But if you got it when you set it up right and the sun hits on it for a little part of the day or whatever, it'll keep it it'll keep that pack charged. You'll never run out of juice. But the main thing is having a cord, depending on how long your camera mount is, depending on how you got it angled and all that. You want to need a long cord. That way you can sit the battery pack or wherever you need it, where it's not a lot of strain on the cord, but you ain't got to worry about hooking the cord. That's a big problem too, especially in kayak fishing. Swing back, ow, you hit your mount, whatever. That's the main thing, is working through those problems. And I always tell people, start out with a camera in the back of the boat first. Don't put one in front of you where you got to worry about talking to it and being informative and all that stuff. Just put it behind you and go fishing. Get some good content, use it, and then you go from there. But you can't have good content if you don't have good camera, good memory card, and ample supply power. Now you can go buy several batteries and have them all charged and ready to go, and you swap them out like on these, depending on the card you have and how hard the camera's running, and also depending on what if you're doing like 4K and all that stuff. You can get on the DJIs now. We get about 2 hours, 2.5 hours out of a runtime on it. So you can put several batteries in it, but the problem you're running into now is, let's say you catch a fish. You're not paying no mind if that thing's about to go dead. Let's say you catch a fish and all of a sudden you're doo-doo-doo, just cut off. Crap. It just cut off at the best part. So we just like to run constant power to it. I never touch that camera again, unless you just hear it do something stupid back there, or you're having a glitchy day with it or something. But I haven't had that since I've switched over to DJIs. I really haven't. So make sure you just got good power and get out there and start recording. People, that's one of the questions they ask all the time. How do I get into YouTube? What do I need to start doing? I start recording. Build up a good amount of videos if you want. That way you can go ahead and get on a schedule, and you don't feel rushed. That's something that me and James run into a lot, because we stay busy working a lot. That sometimes, especially during summer when we're really busy, it's hard to make that time to get out there. So, there for a while, just a couple months ago, we were pushing 2 videos a week. Now it's gotten cold. We both got sick. We were hunting, which that's a whole nother story of filming there, but we were hunting, and on top of family stuff. It just, we weren't able to get out there and keep it constantly going. So we just started going back to 1 video a week on Tuesdays right now, and then we'll just throw in some shorts. Some of our old videos that we did, we'll pull some clips on that, do some shorts, and you can push them through on the week if you want to, or do 1 short a week, however you want to do it. You can do a video and a short, but just stay on a consistent routine. Pick a day, pick a time, and start pushing them out every time on that. Be consistent with it. That's big, but the main thing for you even get to that is make sure you get out there, get good content, and get enough content where you can make a good 10-minute video. It don't have to be an hour long. I mean, yeah, you'll keep some people on that long, but most of the time, but right now, people's attention span, thanks to TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts and all that stuff, Facebook Shorts, everybody's attention span seems like that's not much more than 3 minutes now. It's just how it is, the way of the world right now. It's like we are so driven that, okay, I've seen this, let me go to the next one. you know. So shorts is a big thing to go into and to get some clips on that. So, but like I say, get out there, get filming, and just get your equipment right on the first time to where you're not messing with it while you're out there, and you can actually enjoy and perfect the trade or the hobby that you have. You can perfect that instead of working on that, because if that starts going on you and it's going and it keeps messing up, one or two things are going to happen. One, you're going to get really frustrated and you're not going to fish good anymore. You're just, because you're frustrated at that, you're not focusing. And also you're going to get to the point where you say, screw it, I'm not even doing this anymore. Or the next time you go out, you're like, man, last time I had to deal with that thing, I don't want to deal with it this time. So make sure you just get good equipment. Now, also you want to have your good case. James found these cases here for our DJIs. And I mean, you can see here, it's got all our stuff on here. We got the, this is the, I can't remember what you call this thing, the new DJI. I don't know what you call it now. I can't remember what the name of this camera is, but it's a vlogging camera. It's really, I really like that because it's got a gimbal bracket and all that on it. But you know, we can have, actually I'm using the DJI mic now, so normally I'll keep that right here. Here's what they call a cat's foot or cat's tail or whatever. These are really good to have on your mics when it's windy. Keep down that wind noise. Believe me, your viewers will like it. We apparently forget to use them every time we go out. So, but anyways, I got the Action 5 from DJI right there. And then we got 2 more Action 3s in here with some more. I got all our cords, all that stuff in there. This case is pretty cool because it comes out and then you can put more stuff down there. But I got all the charging cords, several charging cords. That way if something goes wrong, I got another one. And this thing locks pretty good. You throw it off your truck and hits the ground. It's a beefy case. So that's something else you want to make sure you got, just something good to carry all your equipment and have all your equipment together. And that way, if you need to go like night before you can go out, you go right up to where you charge everything at your house. You got your box here and you're like, all right, I'm going to charge all these batteries. I'll make sure all my stuff is together here, because I did struggle in the last 2 years of just constantly when I go out. Well, I'm going to say 3 years. A good year and a half, I struggled. But for about 3 years, I was always an issue here and there. Man, where did this camera part go? Where did this camera part go? I had it in the back here. Now I don't. Now I got a system here. I know what's missing, what ain't missing, what all I got. So I really like that. So now that saves time and I can work on just fishing tackle, getting ready instead of messing with this stuff. So, but once you get all that straight, and then you kind of go and find you a program that you like editing, learn editing. You know, there's a pile of YouTube videos out there. I'm self-taught. James is self-taught. You go on there and you just learn, you know, whatever software you use, there's probably 200 different videos out there on it. Probably more than that, probably freaking thousands of videos out there on it, you know. So I use Adobe, and that's kind of like my baby right there. I really like using that to edit. I can edit my shorts. I can do everything with it. And that one system there costs a little bit of money, well worth it. But if you're on a budget, you don't have to go that route. GoPro has their own editing stuff, or I think DJI has their own editing stuff on their app. One thing I like about the DJI is just GoPro's got it, with DJI just switching everything over to the phone. If I didn't want to, if I'm out somewhere and I just want to do a short clip and then want to post it, I can do it real quick and switch over my phone and go about it. So, but like I say, just getting all that stuff set up where it's, when you get out on the water, it's not a hassle to wear out camera equipment and you're just out there fishing. So, but that's the biggest thing, is getting out there, starting it, make sure you got good equipment. If you guys want a YouTube video on our camera equipment we have and why we have what we have, we can do a video on that if you want to, you know, send us some, you know, send us a message saying, hey, I'd like to see something on that, you know. So, but, and then like I say, just working on your camera angles. That's the biggest thing too, is getting the right angle to show. If you can get it out there, I know you can't see everything, but if you can get out there where you can see your cast, if you're throwing a top water, you can see them blow up maybe. You know, how you work in the bait, because people are watching you when you do this. They wonder how you work in the bait. And then when you get it up by the boat, can they see it? Or when you're doing a release, make sure you do the release inside the camera's on. Me and James are bad, especially in kayak stuff. You know, depending on the fish, you might release it over here. Never showed the camera, you just released it. And you just lost all that basically they didn't get to see nothing. So it was kind of a pointless spot in the video. So just making sure you work on all that. It takes time to really figure out. It don't sound like it should. You wouldn't think, oh, that's simple. Filming, getting out there and filming and fishing, that's simple. It really is a lot of things that you do, and you don't realize until you start editing. You're like, holy crap, why did I do that? How did I miss doing that? Or why did I not show the camera? I mean, what the crap, you know? I mean, there's just several things that you do. You also notice that how sometimes you kind of, the way you fish, if you watch, even if you don't want to do YouTube or social media with it, just filming and watching your fishing trips, you're kind of like, I never flipped at that log I just went by. I flipped at the one right past it. Or, dang, I didn't see something just jump under that tree right there. I missed that. Or, you know, there's just several things that you can catch on of how you're fishing too. You can kind of critique yourself as well watching your content. So, but then, like I say, getting into it, being informative and just really growing it and being comfortable talking to a camera. I always try to think of all my followers are sitting in that camera watching me, you know, and that I want them to be a part of the trip with me. That's why, you know, some people ask, man, why you got a picture of you loading a boat or a video, a clip of you loading a boat in there or running down the lake? I try to make it a vlog. I try to be like, hey, if I was with them, this is what the day's like. If it's just constant running down the bank fishing, you're not really going to have a lot of content for one. So you're going to have a really short video on some days. But also I try to make it a vlog. I like it to be like what it would be like if they're out there on the water with me that day. So you want all your videos to tell a story. Unless you're just doing like a tip video. But like if you're out there vlogging your whole trip, you want to be able to tell the story without telling a story like I am right here. You want to be able to let the video tell the story of how your day went. Some days are bad. And, you know, we get that too, man. I mean, it's like a camera's cut on and we just struggle. We don't catch them or we catch little ones but we try to be real with our content and know that, hey, not every day you can go out there and just catch giants. You're going to go to a lake and you're just going to catch dinks all day. Everybody does that. We see content on there. People, oh, man, you never catch big fish. You never. Look, don't tell me you don't go out there and have bad days. Ain't no way you're going out there every single day, not unless you're a guide or a pro, which we know them guys have bad days. I've been out with a guide. I know they can be tough days as well. You're not always going to catch them. And that's real. And that's what we try to do. So be real with yourself. Don't put on a show and be some crazy person like you see on some of these fishing videos and screaming and hollering. And if that's you, that's great. But if I started doing that, my family would look at me like, you don't do that. Like, why are you doing that? So, you know, what you see on camera, that's me. That's just how I am. So, but be real with yourself. But you know, one of the cons that you're going to have to learn to deal with too on filming and showing people, whether it's if you're just doing shorts on your Facebook page or if you're doing a YouTube video or whatever, is especially if a lot of locals are following you, they're going to find your spots. Learn how to blur stuff, because some stuff is just hard to blur out. But if I'm near a mile marker or a buoy marker or something like that, it can be very easily for them to detect and look on a map and just find that spot, I'll blur it out. But make sure you learn how to edit before you start doing that, because you might want to blur some of that stuff out. You don't want people seeing that. So always pay attention to your edits and make sure there's certain things that you're like, I don't know if I want to put that in there or not, you know, on a certain cast or whatever, you know, you just don't want to put that in there. So just be careful putting them out there like that. Take your time with your edits. But like I said, that's one of the cons is people are going to see where you're fishing. I've had a spot on Smith Mountain Lake that I fish a lot last several years. I've never had to fight for anybody on that spot. Never. I don't fight nobody, but I've never had a time where I had to say, oh crap, somebody's sitting on that spot. I ain't going to fish it. I run into that a little bit now. I've come up on that spot 3 times now. Somebody's sitting on it. And the only way you're really going to notice that is if you're a local, you know. But I can't say that's my spot and get off of it. You know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I do the same thing when I watch YouTube videos. I'm like, oh man, I know where that's at. Let me check that out. That's just nature of the beast when it comes to YouTube and social media. And it's like taking a picture with your fish you hold in the background. You got a R, like ours on the Roanoke River, you know, starts with the R. You got a R35 or something back there, you know, and they're like, oh, Now it is what you can do. You can load a live well up with them, and then you can go take them somewhere else, take pictures. Make it look like, you know, you caught them there or something. I don't know. I don't do that. I just release them right then. But I don't like riding around the lake with fishing a live well if I don't need to. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the cons of it. I can't really think of no other cons except, you know, just I don't know if it's really a con, but you just gotta work hard. If you want to grow a YouTube channel with it, it's a lot of hard work. There's times where, like right now, I've been complaining about it being cold. Well, ain't no content getting shot, and I'm gonna have to get out there and get some good. You know, I got good gear, but you know, I'm just gonna have to get there and load up the gear, and go out there, go fishing in the cold, and catch some fish because they're still biting. They don't care. So, it's dedication to it. You might not be a tournament angler if you don't like tournament fishing, but you're still dedicated to getting out there and, you know, fishing, making time to fish, and you got to sacrifice some. I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to do it. Like if my kids are in school, I can go out there and film, and then on the weekends come around, I can just take him out. I might put the camera on the boat just in case they catch a big one. I can show it later, but I don't make it a big deal to go out there and just film with the kids. Not unless it's something that's just something they want to go do and have fun with their dad. But a lot of times, during the weekday, I'll go out and do my fishing, and then that'll be my YouTube video stuff. So, and then the weekends is our time, and if there's some content we want to use, we'll use it. But other than that, I don't have to. So, but you know, it does take some sacrifice, and I know not everybody is able to do that. There's guys that have to go film just on the weekends, you know, and, or they have to go film just in the afternoon or something. But you know, it's your YouTube channel, it's your social media. Just make it your own, make it the way it is, and just tell people how it is. This is how it's going to be. Hey, I don't get much time during the day to fish, so I got to go in the afternoons for 2 or 3 hours, and this is what I got. That's just how, you know, you got to set it up. So, but that's basically it on that. I just kind of wanted, you know, some people ask us questions about it all the time. I just kind of wanted to touch base with it. And I figured this was a good channel, a good show to do this on, means that I'm trying to test out the environment I'm in and some equipment that we're using to do this with. So, which I feel like everything kind of turned out pretty good here. So we're just going to maybe start doing some of these. Hopefully I'll start feeling better soon. I get over this coughing spell. I'm going to try to edit out a lot of these coughs, but if I don't, I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't get them all edited out of there. But you know, we do get a lot of questions about, you know, just ways to get started into filming, you know, and the process and all that stuff. And like I say, I always tell everybody, make sure you get a good camera, get a good memory card, and have some way to keep constant charge on that thing. That way you're never really messing with the camera all day. Just go fishing and let the rest happen. So, but other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Like I say, you're going to start seeing these on the One Objective Outdoors channel now. I'm not going to really post them on the bass fishing side, which doesn't make sense because it's bass fishing, but we're trying to move a lot of our tips and techniques and fishing stuff over to the outdoor channel. And our bass fishing channel, which we originally started out was fishing and podcasts, has mainly been turned over into like install videos on how to, you know, put mounts on and rig kayaks and rig bass boats. So we're trying to turn that over to that and let that be that basically. So, so the outdoor channel is everything from, you know, us riding four wheelers, dirt bikes, hunting, fishing, which we ain't done much hunting content wise because that's a whole nother day of trying to figure out. We're still trying to figure out filming, hunting stuff, and getting all the gear out there and getting it set up in time. And that's a tough. We're still learning that one. So, but I think we're getting some things in that maybe next year we can kind of dabble in that a little bit if you guys like that stuff. So, but anyways, like I say, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. And to help with our algorithms and all that stuff, if you're on iTunes, please, you know, give it a thumbs up, give it a 5-star, and write what you like about the show, or what you liked about a certain episode, or what was your favorite episode, or any of that stuff. And then also on our Facebook stuff, I don't know what's going on with the algorithm. If you don't see stuff from One Objective on there, make sure you go start checking us out. Search One Objective, bass fishing, or outdoor channel, whichever one you want. And just start kind of going through and looking at our old posts that you might have missed. Something's going on with Facebook. We're lucky if we get 5 or 6 likes on there anymore. I don't know what it is, but you know, we talk to a lot of people and like, man, I don't even see your posts no more. And it's just something with the algorithms gotten jacked up on there. And we've tried to reach out to Facebook and all that, and that's a useless process there. So anyways, help the algorithm get going. Make sure you go out there and you go like something or comment on one of our posts or to help get that back into your feed. So, but other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I say, it was fun. It was, sorry. It was fun getting back on here. I really enjoy this. We're going to start trying to get some guests lined up now. Now that I know I can do this down here and or back home, I'm going to start trying to get some guests lined up and get on here and get to talking with them. So, but other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you're listening to iTunes or you're watching on YouTube. But other than that, guys, we will see you next time.